And so we'll start off with a few questions. We'll give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then I'll ask a series of questions, and then we'll open it up to the crowd. Okay, so who are you and what are you running for?
Yeah.
We have another mic right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Is that this one? Test? Able to pull it off or just talking to it?
Just talking.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me out. Warren Peterson. I'm currently your Arizona Senate President, going into my 4th year as the Senate President. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a 3rd-generation Gilbert resident. Got deep roots out in Gilbert, Arizona. My family all lives right next door to each other. Me and my siblings, we've got 6 1-acre lots, so it's pretty easy to get milk, cheese, and bread whenever you run out. But got deep roots in Gilbert. I was part of the Tea Party wave back in 2008, and I decided to run at that time for office. Ended up getting elected to the legislature. I've been down there now 14 years. Consistently been known as one of the top-ranked conservatives in Arizona. I have the top score with the American Conservative Union, the cumulative score, which means I vote with the Constitution higher than any other legislator down at the Capitol. I've had lots of leadership opportunities to serve. I've been the Commerce Chairman, as the Judiciary Chairman for a couple years, the Rules Chairman, so I've scoured all the bills, thousands of bills for their constitutionality, vis-a-vis the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution. I've been on the Ethics Committee and currently serving as your Arizona Senate President.
Okay, thank you, Warren. It's nice to see another Arizona family. Cushman family's a lot like that. We all live next to each other here in Quartzsite.
Yeah, it's great.
So,
yeah, we get along well.
Okay, so of all the positions that you can choose, why did you choose Attorney General?
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. Attorney General was really not on my radar. I was approached by several folks who worked at the AG's office. Also, a former Assistant Attorney General wrote an op-ed encouraging me to run. Arizona has a statute that gives the Senate President standing when our AG is not defending the law. And currently, I am managing over 110 cases or amicus briefs. And so that was one of the reasons I was asked to run, or people encouraged me to run, is because in that sense, I have been doing exactly what the Attorney General does, managing and overseeing lawsuits. Just to give you guys an example of some of these lawsuits, there was a sex offender who sued the state of Arizona for cruel and unusual punishment. And this is shocking, but Chris Mays did not defend the law. Our Attorney General did not defend the law. So I stepped up and defended the law and won, and families and children remain safe from sex offenders. How many of you guys think only citizens should be voting in our elections? Okay, so if you guys look up Mi Familia versus Warren Peterson, it's all about only making sure only citizens are voting. And then today I just did an amicus brief in actually the Washington, D.C. circuit in regards to making sure only citizens are voting in our election. So there's 110 of these cases and amicus briefs that I'm involved in. You guys can go to petersonforag.com and look at all those. And if we have time here at some point, I can share maybe a few of those with you, but you can see all 110. This is why I have been endorsed overwhelmingly by the legal community and also law enforcement. This is the first time in Arizona history that a challenger has received all of the law enforcement endorsements and the sitting AG has received 0. This probably says, maybe it says more about our sitting AG than it says about me, but it is the first time that the challenger has all the law enforcement endorsements. And we can kind of get into, at some point, we can kind of get into why that is. But it is a historic thing that I do carry all those endorsements.
Okay, what are the 2 top issues involving the AG's office right now that you would hope to change?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a 180 shift. So right now, if you guys have been following Chris Mays, you know her top 2 issues are political lawfare and environmental radicalism is where she's at. I'm going to restore the mission of the office really to just what it should be doing. We're going to fight crime. We're going to keep Arizona safe. Going to defend the laws and the Constitution. I've already been doing that right now as the Senate President with my ability to have standing in cases, but of course I will carry that over back to the AG's office of what it should be doing. She has 43 lawsuits against President Trump. All this political lawfare is insane. It should be dropped. I'm also going to root out all the fraud, waste, and corruption that we're seeing in these welfare programs, but also we're going to make sure we have secure elections. So a few years ago, I co-sponsored legislation to create the Election Integrity Unit. That has been gutted since Chris Mays has become the Attorney General. I will go in, we're going to make it the most robust election integrity unit the state has ever seen. I'm going to have attorneys assigned to every county. One of the first things I'm going to do when I go into office is we're going to be sending a letter out to all the county recorders. This is where elections take place. It's going to say, just a reminder, as Attorney General, I enforce Title 16. Those are your election laws. I'm going to tell them to keep all their records. When law enforcement tells you to keep your records, you guys all know what that means. They're going to know what that means. I'm also going to reverse the opinion, which was a bad opinion by Chris Mays, that said that the cast vote record is a private document, not a public document. I'm going to reverse that opinion, issue an opinion saying it is a public document, and all of you have the right to review the cast vote record as another check to make sure that our elections are secure. So those are some of the things that I'm going to do in the very first few days of the office. It's going to be 180-degree flip, and it's going to be a big pendulum swing. I do think you will see my legacy. I really want it to be a legacy of a safe Arizona, and I think people will say after I'm gone one day that the Peterson era was the era that Arizona was the safest that it's ever been.
Okay, what is going well in the AG's office right now? What are they doing right?
The only thing I can thank Chris Mays for, our current AG, is helping me raise money. She is a complete and total disaster. I mean, let's just start with this. Okay, we are now the party of sanity versus insanity, right? It used to be somewhat similar, the two parties. It is like sanity versus insanity, free markets versus communism. So we are now just sponsoring and passing sane bills and common sense bills. For example, 5 years ago, I co-sponsored the Save Women Sports Act. No boys and girls sports. Does that sound reasonable to you guys? Okay, it passed by one vote. Okay, this is just common sense stuff. It passed by one vote because all of the Democrats voted no. Now, thank God we had a Republican governor, Governor Ducey, signed that into law. Fast forward to today, 2 boys who think they're girls sued Arizona. And what do you guys think our Attorney General Chris Mays did? She said, as a proud LGBT, I'm not going to defend this law. So I defended the law. If you guys Google Jane Doe versus Warren Peterson, what you'll see is that I'm the lead defendant of the Save Women Sports Act that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, in January, I was there in the U.S. Supreme Court. I was sitting next to Attorney General McCuskey, who has endorsed my campaign. I was also sitting next to Attorney General Raul Labrador from Idaho. He has also endorsed my campaign. 2 conservative AGs that have endorsed my campaign. The 3 of us were sitting in the U.S. Supreme Court listening to the oral arguments on the Save Women Sports Act. Would you believe this turned out to be one of the longest oral arguments in American history? 3 hours and 15 minutes arguing about what is a woman. And would you believe some of the justices didn't know? Have you guys heard of Ketanji Brown? You know who this lady is? Okay. So I almost regretted being in the Supreme Court because I was worried Ketanji Brown was going to lower my IQ. This is the lady famous for saying, I'm not a biologist, I don't know what a woman is. And she still gets appointed as the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, here's the good news in case you guys missed it. Last week, we won 6-3, and girls remain protected in girls' sports across the country. So that just happened. And so anyways, you guys can, you guys can look up all these cases. They're online. So
Okay, next question. This has to do with the vulnerable citizens. The average age here in Quartzsite, I think, is 70. And that was lowered when my wife and I, when I retired from the Marines and came home.
Oh, thank you for your service.
So, so you have the elderly here. This is a very elderly town. We have veterans here. And of course, we have a lot of vulnerable children. What are some of the things that you can do as Attorney General to make sure that the vulnerable populations in our communities are safe throughout the state?
Yeah, so first of all, again, my top priority is fight crime, keep Arizona safe. I feel like the criminal division of the AG's office is in tatters. But when you're talking about vulnerable adults, one of the things that first comes to mind, of course, is the scams, right? It's the con artists and the scams. And so especially with AI and the AI technology, so we're going to make sure that we have, anytime a scam happens to somebody, we're going to make sure that we go after those, we prosecute those very vigorously. Right now, Chris Mays has 43 lawsuits plus against President Trump. These are millions of dollars. That's millions of dollars wasted that we could be using on protecting the consumer, that we could be used on fighting crimes and going after some of these scammers. And when it comes to children, what comes to mind, of course, is human trafficking. So we're going to beef up our human trafficking department, making sure we're eradicating that from Arizona. I've been in touch with folks that have been in special forces, and they're really passionate. They would be part of a task force that we could bring in to do some special missions on this. But again, like I said earlier, I really do believe that I'm a worker. I'm a hard worker. If you guys have followed my history at the legislature, you'll see I've passed and co-sponsored hundreds of bills. I'm going to be working really, really hard, and it will be an era where Arizona is the safest it's ever been.
Okay. So last week we had your opponent in the primary come here, Rodney Glassman came by. So we can only pick one in the primary. So
Right.
Why should we pick you over Rodney?
Yeah. Well, it's not even close. And I hope you guys, if there's any question, because we don't have time, please watch the debate. Go on YouTube and watch the debate between me and my opponent. You'll learn that he is a con man. He is, first of all, the AG's office, it's really three things. It's leadership, okay? It's policy, and then it's the legal acumen. All right. Well, first of all, when it comes to leadership, all right, the reason why I went and met with 4 AGs, 4 county attorneys, conservatives, all of them endorsed my campaign. The 8 of them endorsed me. He met with them as well. The 8 of them endorsed me. Because the first and most important thing is the leadership position. Well, I am the leader of the Arizona Senate. I was also majority leader. So I've led one of the largest institutions in the state for 6 years. 4 as Senate president, 2 as the majority leader. So the leadership, there's no question I have much more leadership. Now, he has said he leads the Luke Air Force Base. He's a reservist JAG at the Luke Air Force Base. For those of you who don't know, that means 2 days out of the month. Appreciate the service, but here's the problem. Okay, he says he leads the legal department at the Luke Air Force Base. If you call the legal department at the Luke Air Force Base, they don't know who he is. Okay? I'm the Arizona Senate president. If you call anybody at the Senate, they all know who I am because I'm actually leading the Senate. So what we've learned is like an assistant to an assistant, and so they don't know who he is. So I thought he would be smart enough to like go down to the Luke Air Force Base, go shake some hands, maybe talk to the girl that answers the phone, and say, hey, if anybody calls down here, tell them you know who I am. Well, somebody called 2 weeks later, they still don't know who he is. So I encourage you guys, maybe call the Luke Air Force Base legal department and see if anybody knows who he is. The bottom line is he's lied about his experience. He's also lied about my experience. He says I've never prosecuted a case. I'm the only person in this race that there's proof I've prosecuted a case. I prosecuted 9 trials. You can contact the city attorney for the city of Scottsdale. That's out in the public record. It's been proven. Guess how many cases we know he's prosecuted? Well, 0 state cases, which is what's relevant. But supposedly he says he's an experienced prosecutor for the military at Luke Air Force Base. Well, guess what? We can find no proof that he's actually prosecuted a trial. We've asked him to bring forth proof. He hasn't brought forth proof. But if you're only going in 2 days a month for 18 years, and by the way, if you've been there 18 years and you're an 18 years experienced prosecutor, you should have thousands of cases, okay? I did my trials over a matter of months. So I've got the leadership. I'm the only one. It's proven. It's all out there public. I've got the policy experience. That's number 2. I have 14 years of lawmaking experience. I'm the only one with the policy experience. And then I also have the courtroom experience. I was in the U.S. Supreme Court in January, and again, I prosecuted 9 trials at the state level. He's prosecuted 0. And We don't know for sure. We have no proof that he's actually done any in the military. He's just making that claim. Unfortunately, my opponent is very dishonest. He has this little palm card, has all sorts of lies on there. First of all, that I've never prosecuted a trial. That's a lie. Second of all, I've never donated to Trump. I don't know why that's the most important thing in this race, but I have donated to President Trump. And then also he says that I'm not involved in scouts or haven't helped in the community with scouting. I was an Eagle Scout. And I've also been recommended for my leadership of youth in the scouting program. So the bottom line is this, guys. At the end of the day, I'm running against a con man. He's been running for 20 years. He's lost 6 times in a row because most people usually figure out who he really is. He's changed parties 4 times. He ran to be the Democrat Party chairman twice. He's a trust fund baby. He lives in an 11,000 square foot home in the Biltmore. So what he does is runs for office, and he's kind of figured out he's really slick and smooth, and he's figured out how to kind of con a bunch of people. And if you have any doubt, just watch our debate. We have a 1-hour debate with each other. And anyways, so you asked for the differences. The differences are one of us is qualified, has a 14-year proven conservative record, and the other one, the last time he won was 20 years ago as a Democrat on the city council, and he has a liberal record. And now he was promising, after all this time, after becoming a Republican and still donating to Democrats, he's promising you that now he'll be a conservative like me. You can just vote for me. So, I don't know. Anyways, those are the differences.
Okay. All right, we're going to open it up to the audience here. Who would like to go first? Please state your name and a question ends with a question mark. Thank you.
I'm Charlotte Lewis. I live just outside of Quartzsite in Rainbow Acres. The biggest question I suppose I have is when it comes to policy and law, how do you feel about people with mental illnesses serving on a council all the way up to the presidency?
Can you give me a scenario that you're thinking about? Okay. Well, obviously, mentally ill people, hopefully nobody elects somebody who's mentally ill. So hopefully, first of all, the check is our citizens. We should all figure that out. But when we're talking about mentally ill people that are dangerous to the community, those people should be either prosecuted or they should be put into a mental health facility where the community can be protected from them.
So only supposed dangerous mental illnesses should stay off council. Other mental illnesses, people who are confused with who they are or they can speak to aliens, should be allowed on councils.
No, but it's the vote. They will never get my vote, but the voters are going to decide, right? So I will be voting no for those folks. Obviously, if somebody is not sane or competent, then yeah, they don't belong in public office by any means.
I thank you for that very much. I do have a second question for
Sure.
you, and I know they've done it out in Phoenix. How do you feel about the loitering laws versus civil rights laws, such as people standing on corners for days on end asking for money, loitering out and bringing a city's value down?
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, we've actually passed some laws against that. So we've got some panhandling laws that we've passed. And so we have done that over the last 14 years. When it comes to loitering, of course, private property is king. So the private property owners, if it's you, if it's your business, if it's your home, you have the right to trespass anybody who you do not want there. It doesn't matter why they're there. It can be loitering or any other reason. You as a property owner has that right. Now, the area where it starts to get into, okay, what do we do as society? Those are your public spaces, right? How do we handle this as in a public space? Well, obviously, as citizens, everybody's free to move, you're free to assemble, and those kinds of things. So at the point, though, where they start to become a nuisance to society, that is where they cross the line, and that's where you hit, the loitering statute, the panhandling statutes that we've crossed, and those kinds of things. So that's when they start to cross the line, and they need to be removed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I got a funny story. You guys want to hear a funny story while he's blocking the mic out there? So, Ian Prescott is a radio show. I was on the show with him, an hour with me, an hour with my opponent. After the show, they said they endorsed me. But then my opponent contacted them 35 times and tried to change his mind. So this is the guy I'm running against. I drew that straw. So, and he goes, no, I'm still supporting Warren. But don't worry, if you tell me don't support you, I will not contact you 35 times. You're all safe. You're good. So, yeah.
Okay. I have a question that I don't know if it's even in your ballpark.
Sure.
But we have a problem coming up real soon. They're trying to put a used oil refinery here in our town.
Yeah.
And all the elderly and people like me with COPD, with all that pollution that's going to come out of that, especially being the company it is, if you research the company, they have had leakages, they have crossed all sorts of air control acts that they have violated.
Yeah.
But yet it's still going forward. Our city manager says it's outside city limits, yet it's in city limits. And so my question is there anything as an AG that you could do to help stop that from coming here and polluting our ground? Because we're all on one aquifer.
Sure. Yeah, so here's the answer. It depends, like an attorney likes to say, right? So what it depends on is whether they break the law or not. If they break the law, then yes, I can do something. If they're complying with the statutes and the local ordinances, then no, there's nothing I can do. But there is something all of you can do. Still, even though I may not be able to do anything as the AG, as long, if they're not breaking the laws. Those are all zoning issues. So, and you guys elect either your city. If it's in the city, then it's your city council or town council. If it's in the county, then it's your supervisors. So it sounds like we're not sure. They're telling you you know it's in the city. Okay, well okay. Well, if you know, you know. So then it is up to your city council to get the zoning decision and the permits and licenses and all that right. So you guys need to work closely with your council. Let them know. You look like you might be a great future council member. So, anyways, you know that's where the solution is going to be for that specific issue. So, unless they're breaking the law. If they're breaking the law, then yes, I can get involved.
Okay, who has the next question? Don't let them off easy.
Please don't. And I want to tell you guys this, and I mean this 100%. Ask me anything. I don't care how personal it is. If he's got commercials running right now that are full-blown lies, just absolutely lies. Like, okay, I am running for office, all right? My wife is not running for office, and my 5-year-old is not running for office. So my 5-year-old should not have woken up yesterday or should not have seen an ad yesterday and asked my wife if she was bad like the TV says. Okay, my wife and my kids don't deserve that. But you're voting, so go ahead and ask me the questions. Any question, I do not care how salacious it is or what it is or how personal it is or qualifications or anything. You can ask me any question. I'm fine. Yes.
Okay, we have a question. We have a microphone right here in the center.
How are you going to guarantee that with all the shenanigans that's been going on the last few years, that our vote is going to be actually counted?
Yeah. Okay, great question. So it's an election integrity question. Here's the answer. First of all, 2020 was an absolute disaster. Does everybody agree with that? 2022, a little better, but it was bad, okay? Here's what happened in 2024. We learned, we got smart. President Trump pushed too big to rig. We need to do the same thing this time. I'm worried because early returns, Democrats are returning more ballots than us so far. So far, the Democrats are leading us by about 6,000 returns. We have got to go too big to rig, just like 2024. Now, in 2024, what we did was we had monitors everywhere, we had attorneys everywhere. The second we saw something weird, we threatened to sue. Well, guess what happened in 2024, guys? They said we're going to lose the legislature. We expanded the legislature. They said we're going to lose the CorpCom. We swept the CorpCom. We won every single race in the state except for the U.S. Senate race. So if we do what we did in 2024, if we do that now, we will absolutely win. Now, my race, the AG's race, 4 years ago, out of 3 million votes, it was decided by 280 votes. Okay? So we have to get engaged now. We have added 100,000 Republicans since then. So we can easily just, all things equal, all things the same, we will absolutely win my race. Same with the governor's race, 17,000 votes. That was the delta on the governor's race. We've added 100,000 people. Now, here's what will happen. It's going to be a dogfight. I'm going to barely win. Biggs is going to barely win, okay? Over the last 4 years, since we've had a Democrat governor, I've been in divided government with I've been Senate president with the governor. We have put over 70 election integrity bills on the governor's desk. And what do you guys think she's done? You're right. Whoever's laughing, yes, you're right. She vetoed all of those election integrity bills. Do you guys remember Florida, how it used to be the laughing stock of the country, the hanging chads? Do you remember the election director who had like the floating ballots out, or there was ballots floating in the ocean on the beach? And okay, so Ron DeSantis runs for office, right? And he barely wins. He gets in there. Then they pass all these election integrity laws. They fire this corrupt elections official. And now what's happening in Florida? What do we see happening in Florida? Well, everybody's moving there, but they win. They win big, right? So this is exactly what's going to happen in Arizona. We're going to get all these election integrity laws passed. We're going to win. It's going to be close. We all need to do our job. Whenever it comes to this kind of stuff, guys, you got to do what's in your control. What is in your control in this room? What can you guys do? That's right. You guys can vote. Now, I have a little more control because I'm the Senate president. So here's the things I've done with my control that you can count on that I will also do as the Attorney General. So 4 years ago, 6 years ago in 2020, you guys may not know this, but I was the Judiciary Chairman. I'm the person who issued the subpoenas for the audit. I was in my control. That's what I did. Later, I became the Senate President. We still had the audit documents in the basement. I was told to get rid of the documents. I said, no, we're not going to get rid of those documents. Then the DOJ comes out and they start looking for election documents. Do you guys know what our Attorney General and what our Secretary of State was telling all the county recorders as they tried to get these election documents? They said, don't hand them any, don't give them anything, don't tell them anything, we'll go after you. Do you know how they feel about me giving over documents? They're going to go after me. So I got a subpoena on a Friday from the Department of Justice to give them the documents. And of course, we have an AG who says you can't give over the documents. And then a Secretary of State saying you can't get over the documents. So what do you guys think I did? 9 a.m. the next morning, I handed over the documents. Fastest replied subpoena maybe in the history of America. And then what else did I do? Because they were harassing me. Chris Mays and Adrian Fontes. What do you guys think I did? So Section 1804, 1803, 1802 of the U.S. Code of our federal statutes is tampering with a witness, obstructing with justice. So I referred both of them to the Department of Justice for tampering with a witness. That's how I handled the situation. So you guys can know when things are in my power and my control, that is how I'm going to handle this situation. I'm going to be very aggressive, very strong, but I'm not a fan of doing things that are without my control. Before I'm an elected official, I'm a precinct committeeman. So what I do is I make sure everybody wins their elections. So I am knocking doors every single day. When ballots drop, I'm knocking doors every single day, helping our swing legislators win. That's what we can do. Get out the vote. Make sure you voted. It helps if you guys vote early. It's okay that you haven't voted now because you hadn't heard me yet. But now that you've heard me, it's good for you guys to vote as soon as possible, because as soon as you voted, we can switch our resources to the people who have not voted. You can also use your resources to try to get people to vote. Unfortunately, we don't have one day, one vote, okay? We have voting month. It's not voting day. It should be voting day because that's what's in the laws, but we actually have voting month. So during this time, the best thing we can do, you gotta, it's like a football game. If it's 4 quarters, we gotta play all 4 quarters, and right now, we're a little bit behind. Now, it is the primary, so it's not the final, quarter here. The general election is where we really need to make sure we're turning in more ballots, but right now we should be prepping ourselves for the general, and we should have more returns than the Democrats, and right now we do not. So we got some catch up to do.
Okay, we have one more question.
So I don't have a question, but what you just explained, you actually running for office and being voted in by the people of the country, the county, state, shows the importance over being appointed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. We are a Republican form of government, and being elected by the people, it's, your right to vote is one of the most sacred things you have. And then me as an elected official, the most sacred thing I do is protect and defend the Constitution. Because that's the oath I take when I'm elected to represent you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Carmel Garcia, and I am a write-in candidate for the Clerk of the Superior Court. I also volunteer at the Yuma County Food Bank.
Great.
And one of the things that our moderator mentioned and asked you a question about, that here in Quartzsite we have a senior citizen population, and they come from all over the world.
Sure.
They come from all over the world. So between October and March, we see a mass influx of people. And so, you know, in this last year, there was a decrease in the amount of food that was available for people. We had to turn, today at 10 o'clock, we had to stop, and we still had people coming in. We ran out of food, and we couldn't help them anymore and told them to come back in a couple of weeks. You know, or hit some of the other local food banks if they can get help at. But the horror stories that I hear at the food bank from people asking me, Carmel, what can I do? What can I do? I haven't heard from SNAP. I haven't heard from Social Security. You know, they doxed my Medicare last year. You know, I either had to come up with $200 or be evicted. So I chose not having Medicare Part B so I could have a roof over my head. You know, you hear these stories. A family of 10 waiting over 90 days to get approved by SNAP. I contacted Paul Gosar, and I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but please tell me if I didn't.
Oh, that's right.
And all I got back was a standard, and I know these letters because I've worked in politics and stuff. I got a standard letter, you know, talking points, blah, blah, blah. Contact these agencies. And I responded to him and I told him he has a staff. It is not for me to do his job, whatever his job entails, which is taking care of the people in La Paz County, if I'm not correct, right? So I told him that his staff needed to look into why people had to wait more than 90 days to be approved for SNAP, especially when they had such a large family, you know. Children, vulnerable, and adults. You know, and we see this all the time here. You see it, and more so, as I stated, between October and March. The influx of people that come here that are just as poor as everybody else and are in need of food bank assistance. So, you know, my next step was to write a letter to Secretary Rollins. My question is, what can you as the AG do to speak to the representatives of our area to be able to go after these agencies, Social Security, SNAP, Medicaid, and speed up the process? Does it mean hiring more people? If it means hiring more people, then let's look into that. I've asked them. They say go on to, you know, .gov, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what it means, is there more money? Is there money to hire more people? If there isn't, can we get more money to hire more people in Medicaid, SNAP, and Social Security to meet the needs of the population?
Yeah. So what you're talking about is an executive function. So this is, you know, comes down from the President of the United States under his authority, and then some of that has been delegated to the states, where it is, again, it's a function of the executive branch, the governor's branch of the state. So you have both of those areas. So when it comes to your congressmen, when they're helping you, it's actually not their job. Those are their constituent services reaching out to the executive branch, trying to get the executive branch to help you. It's really an executive function if it's not being done timely or quickly. What your lawmaker's job is to write the laws. It's the executive branch. The law is already written for SNAP. So it's the executive branch's job to do it. Now, what has been delegated to the state, that now falls under the governor, and so you may have legislators. I don't know, who are your legislators out here? Is this Hildy and, is that right? Is it
Hildy,
Gillette?
Gillette, and Leo.
And Leo. So it's Leo and Hildy. Okay, so even them, it's not even their job either. Their job is to write the laws for state laws. So when they get involved, they're engaging with the governor's office and trying to get her to do her job. So really, this is on the governor and it's on the President of the United States. Those are the two people who are carrying out these functions. Now, where do I come in as AG? In fraud. So I don't come into the part of executing, that's the governor's part, but when it comes to fraud, that's where I come into play. Okay?
Okay, that gives me an idea for another question. One problem that we're seeing a lot out here, those of us that do casework and stuff like that with veterans, with elderly, is the increasing cost of legal representation. Many of these cases that people get into, like a fraud case, will require an attorney to get them out, but they can't afford an attorney. So what can they do for, because I know in a criminal case you can have a court-appointed attorney.
Right.
But what do we do in civil cases where a vulnerable population or anybody can, how do we get legal representation?
What is the legal representation for? What's the issue?
Well, I'll give you an example. One was a lady lost her house that was in her family for several generations. And again, all she needed was an attorney to fight it. You know, it was one of these like fraud cases where a bank came in and seized it, but she couldn't even afford an attorney to fight it.
Yeah. So if she's been defrauded, if it is a consumer protection issue, the AG can get involved in those kind of cases. If it doesn't reach that level, then obviously it's a private matter. So you got to find an attorney that will either take a contingency on that, or you do have nonprofit groups that also do it. But it sounds like it may weigh into the AG's office, something that the AG could take on. So
yeah, what we're finding is a lot of the nonprofit pro bono services are already tapped out throughout the state.
Yeah, that sounds like one the AG could do that we could take on. So
okay, any other questions? Do you have any questions for our community?
Well, I asked if you guys had voted yet. How many of you guys are planning on voting early? I guess is a question. Good. Okay. How many of you guys are going to vote on election day? All right. Here's the only thing, in case you don't know this, you may know this, you may not know this. If you vote on election day, do not drop off your early ballot. Because if you do you know when it'll get counted? 2 weeks later. Okay, or a week or 2 weeks later. So if you go in on election day to vote, you do a real vote. You toss your early ballot, you take a ballot, you vote, and they'll run it through the scanner. That's what you want to do. So, anyways.
Okay, so
thank you guys.
We'll give you.
Thank you all for having me. God bless you all.
3 to 5 minutes closing remarks.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said earlier, this was not on my radar. I was not, but I've been asked to run, first and foremost by a former assistant attorney general. I think the AG's office has been pretty easy to take for granted until we got this wacky, crazy, insane AG that we have right now. So this is an AG who won't protect our girls. She won't defend girls in girls sports, so I've defended that law. She's someone who won't defend us from sex offenders, so I've defended us in that law. She's someone who won't protect us on crazy environmentalist issues. California passed a rule that said trucks in Arizona that do business in California would have to electrify their trucks, and she wouldn't get engaged on that. So I joined with other AGs, we sued California, and we won. So there's on and on. Again, there's 110 cases or briefs you can see that I'm in. I just joined one today. I'm constantly fighting for you guys. Now I have been able to, as Senate President, I've been able to engage on the federalism issues, on defending the Constitution, on defending state laws. Where I've not been able to engage is on the crime. She's soft on crime, okay? She is drifting us towards California. I don't know about you guys, but I do not want to allow Arizona to turn into California. I love this state. God loves this state. God loves America. God saved America in 2024. I believe that God has asked some of us to run and all of us to get involved to save this state in 2026. I'll just close with this. I have sued Governor Katie Hobbs in court and beat her. She broke the law on our nominees. I sued Adrian Fontes, Secretary of State, in court when he broke the law in our elections. And I beat our Attorney General, Chris Mays, in court when she sued us because we cut her funding, and then she had to pay us $40,000 in attorney's fees. With your help, we're going to beat all three of these folks in just a few months. Warren Peterson for Attorney General. Thank you guys so very much for having me. Really appreciate it. God bless you.
Okay, Warren, thank you very much. Again, it's a long drive out here, and we appreciate you coming out to Quartzsite. There's a lot of other places he could have been. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Okay, good evening. Now we're here for round two. These are our county level officials running for office. And what we're doing is we're going to give each of you 3 to 5 minutes because we have some familiar faces up here, and then we have a new face up here. And we'll give them each a chance to say why they're here and why we should vote for them. So we'll go ahead and start with you, Anita.
How does it always happen? I go first. Okay, so I'm here again. Y'all know, most of you know, I'm running for Superior Court Judge. Something I was thinking about this morning before I came into work was this is a primary in a non-presidential election year. There's not going to be a lot of voting. It's important here because there's just Tom and I running on the Republican ticket for Superior Court Judge. There is no Democrat, and right now there is no write-in. So the primary vote is going to choose who is going to sit on your Superior Court for the next 4 years. So I asked for your vote. I asked you to take that in consideration because ultimately you're the ones that have to live with who you choose, okay? I would like it to be me. I feel I'm qualified. I feel I'm prepared, except for my voice. But I know I will do this county a fantastic job, and I do care about people. When you're on the defense side, you get a little bit different feeling for people. I agree the law should put people that do bad things where they need to go. Totally agree with that. But there's more to it than just criminal. The Superior Court Judge in this county hears everything. And if you're in front of that judge, you want to make sure it's someone that cares about you, that cares about what happens and cares about the outcome. And I'm telling you, that's me. So I am asking for your vote this primary, and then I'll see you again in the fall. Thank you.
All right, you're next, Thomas.
Hi, my name is Tom Dorsey. I'm also running for Superior Court Judge. I've been an attorney for about 11 years now, and the last 4 of which I've been working in the county attorney's office. That is the prosecution side of things on criminal, but before that I've had a lot of experience doing family law and civil court matters, and I bring a lot of experience to the position as well. It's a diverse experience, and I've also worked a lot in legal aid situations and helping people that can't afford traditional legal services. And, you know, in my role as an advocate for the community, I think that I would, I'd like to see more community legal services show up. I don't think I've seen them once since I've been here, and yet we are in their legal aid jurisdiction. If you do have a legal problem and you don't feel like you can afford traditional legal services, I would suggest contacting Community Legal Services, by the way, and they can perhaps at least give you legal advice over the phone. In any event, I'm also seeking your vote for Superior Court Judge. I think Anita's right. This is a very important primary because there doesn't appear to be any competition on the other side once the general election comes, so the primary is it for Superior Court. I think I've got a good track record with the office here, and I've helped to preserve the law and uphold personal responsibility. And I'm also a big fan of personal responsibility, which it seems like some people, for whatever reason, seem to forget. And I'm not going to be partisan up on the bench. I'm going to hear both sides of every case, and if the prosecutors do their job, then the guilty, as found by the community and the jury, are going to receive justice, and that's going to be dictated by the statutes that the legislature put forward on sentencing, and I'm going to follow those rules, and there's not going to be any judicial advocacy or anything like that. It's going to be Arizona law that prevails in the court, not my personal feelings or anything like that. So I hope that if you have any questions for me later on, that you come and talk to me, and if I can answer those questions, and I hope I can count on your vote July 21st. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. All right, you're next.
Okay, good evening. My name is Carmel Garcia. Now, if I had gotten my paperwork and gotten my things from the elections office in Parker, I would have been able to have registered as a write-in candidate. But I was informed that I missed the deadline. So you don't have to write in my name because it's not going to make any difference. But had I been a write-in candidate, I have been very, very qualified. I have over 40 years of working in the legal business, legal services, working with attorneys, working with agencies such as Catholic Charities. Maybe I should go back a little bit. I was born in Arizona, got shifted, hijacked to California, where I was raised in California, went to school in California, was educated there, went to Santa Rosa Junior College, took pre-law courses, jumped over to Sonoma State University, where I was educated in administrative law and constitutional law. Then I went to Humboldt State University, where I studied bilingual Spanish and English bilingualism, and I got a degree in interpreting. So my career has been a notary public, bilingual interpreter, and a legal secretary. I worked a lot.
I have a question for you, just for my own. Are you running for a position?
No.
Or are you not a candidate?
No, I'm not a candidate.
Well,
I'm just introducing myself because I'm getting ready for the next one.
okay, here,
Yes.
we'll back up because we're hoping that you would say this in your introduction. She notified us earlier today that she was going to be a write-in candidate for Superior Court Clerk on the Democrat ticket. But then she found out later this evening that she can't run because she missed the deadline.
Right.
So the view of making sure that everybody gets a chance to say their piece, I chose to let her come up here and talk and address us. Now, I know this is a heavy Republican crowd, but you know she does deserve a chance to tell us what she's about.
She has a voice. Thank you.
Well, if I can say this, I mean, we're all human beings, we're all here, we're all supposed to love each other, right? I was raised and I grew up a Democrat. That's what Hispanics do, that's what Mexicans do. They fall in line to the Democratic Party. After I was a single mother and raising a family, I became a conservative and jumped ship to the Republican Party. For the last 45 years, I have been voting Republican. And only this year did I decide that I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I'm not going to sit here and explain that all to you, but you know, if we want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But we're all here, we're all people, we all care about our community, and that's what we're here for. So may the best person win. I didn't make it this time to get in as a write-in or to get my paperwork in, but the next one that comes around, you'll probably be seeing me. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for these candidates? Yes, ma'am.
I actually have a question for both of you on the end there. You said you care. You said you're qualified. Can you tell me how you care, and can you tell me how you're qualified?
Absolutely. Do you want to go first?
Thank you.
Okay, so I was a police explorer as a teenager for 2.5 years. I was a police officer for over 6.5 years. I've now been an attorney almost 11 years. I've been a public defender. So when you're a public defender, you do thousands of cases, not hundreds, thousands. And I've done mental health. I've done juvenile dependency, juvenile delinquency. I've done criminal, misdemeanor, and felony. I'm actually considered a felony trial attorney. That's what I do. That's my specialty. I also drove truck, also road tested motorcycles, also worked at a Renaissance fair. And I say that because it helped me in my representation of clients. It helped me understand where they're coming from. And very seldom did anybody come to me with something I either didn't do, didn't know about, or couldn't relate to. So it made my world so much wider. When you're a police officer, it's black and white. With all the other things I've done, I've had to expand that to help meet people where they are, as opposed to trying to drag them on one side or the other. Now I'm private. I work for a firm. Now I do family law, probate. I do basically anything that comes down the pike. I do eviction law, both sides. So I know that this is a problem with your area, is illegal evictions. I do understand what that is. I do understand what an eviction is. I do understand the difference in the two different rights that you have, the trailer park rights and the regular rights. I understand the difference in those as well. So I have an extremely wide berth of what I have for experience. And y'all, this is menopause, sorry. Thank you for that. Sure. Is that enough? Okay.
Okay, so I'll tell you why I care, first of all. So why I care is my family has a tradition of public service. I credit that to my mother, who was an emergency room nurse, and my grandfather, who was a police officer. And incidentally, my father was in the Army for the Vietnam War era, and he had a combat MOS, but he never went. He lucked out, and because his older brother had gone, they didn't need him too. So, in any event, I was always taught basically that you should try to serve your community, and that is what drew me into the prosecution job I have right now, actually. And I thought that becoming a Superior Court judge would bring more of my experiences in the law to make it would be more helpful to the community in a lot of ways. And the fact was, at the time, when I heard about Judge Kelly's death, the question arose, well, who's going to replace him? And there aren't a lot of people that meet the qualifications. Me and Anita are the only two in the pool that stepped forward. But I care about people, and I care about the community. I've lived in La Paz County for 4 years now, and I like it here. I like the traffic a lot better than in Phoenix, I can tell you that. But there's a lot of things in the criminal law that I see that need to be ameliorated. We need to do a better job addressing victims' rights, even though we have the state constitutional amendment and the enabling statutes in there. We got to clean that up a little bit better and make sure that those people are heard. And so I think, yeah, there isn't anything more important to our society than preserving our freedoms, because that is what we need to be focused on when we're talking about criminal law, is that everybody is being treated fairly. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, even as a prosecutor, I don't I embrace the notion that we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone is guilty. I don't want the 51% burden. I want to be totally sure that somebody belongs in prison if that's where their final destination is. And so I care about that, and I'm not going to be partisan in other words, I'm not going to favor the prosecution just because that was my latest background, basically. But I do care deeply about core principles like that.
Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, we have one question.
Hi there, Shanana Rain Golden Bear. I don't know if y'all know about the challenges of women who have taken their husbands' names and in the future may have challenges being able to vote, get a driver's license. A friend of mine went through a name change of a name that she's been using for about 40 some odd years. And it was a interesting, eye-opening experience. And because I have a unique name, and I've been using mine for 30 years, I've not had a problem with it. However, I recently did as well. We learned that there are no forms in La Paz County to fill out for a name change. And you can do a Zoom, but some of the instructions are very interesting. So you have to go download forms from either Mojave County, Maricopa County, and then print them out and change the name on the form, which feels very odd to do, and then submit that. So what would you do to help the women who have taken names and are not using the names with their birth date because they've been married? What are you going to do? How are you going to make it easier for the women in La Paz County?
We can make forms. I mean, there's no reason La Paz. Yes, we need to make the forms. There's no reason La Paz County shouldn't have that. There's no reason. And I have my maiden name.
So, you know, when I worked for legal aid in Cochise County, our office had a special project to take the forms from other counties and make them into forms for Cochise County to address that issue that it feels weird to use another county's form. I will say that those forms from Maricopa County and Mojave County have already been pre-approved by the court as being regular and standard to be able to use through the court rules. So changing the title of them doesn't incur a penalty or anything like that. But for aesthetic reasons, we could have a project to do that, although I would say that would be something for the clerk of court to do.
Well, you would be blown away how many times we take stuff from other counties and just change the title. Why reinvent the wheel?
Okay, do you have anything you'd like to say on that, Carmela?
As we were, in my mind, it was thinking, why doesn't the court, why wouldn't the Superior Court have them? Why wouldn't they have them available? Why wouldn't they have a link, a website to be able to spit them out? I mean, come on now. I mean, I've had to tell Yuba County to up their game. I'm just learning here, folks, okay? But yeah, that's what I would.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back. So this is the main event of the evening. This is a continuation of last week. I know we had a lot more questions asked our candidates. We're going to continue that. So what we're going to do is we'll do a brief introduction of each of you and why you're running, and then we'll start off with a series of questions, and then we'll open it up to the public. Okay, who would like to go first? Thank you for volunteering, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Am I on? Am I on? Yep. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Bolden. I have lived here 7 years. I came to Ehrenberg for a year and a half prior, but I traveled a big part of the world. I traveled 10 countries and then over 18 months, and then over 18 months traveled most of the United States and landed in Quartzsite. And I love Quartzsite. I grew up in Texas, and everybody there is really friendly, and Quartzsite feels a lot like home. And I've made this my home, and I've seen where things are not completely going according to what the people want. And I want to be a voice for the people on town council that will speak up for the people and really start to make a positive change for this town instead of just going along to get along. I'm going to listen to anybody who has a complaint and try to do my best to serve my community.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Linda Goldberg. I came to Quartzsite representing Southern California, a town in Southern California, Riverside County. We used to do the big tent promoting the towns of Hemet and San Jacinto in Southern California. Fell in love with Quartzsite. Bought a home here. Mark was already retired. I retired from the Metropolitan Water District, and this is our home. I love this community. I love the fact that we are moving forward. There are good things coming to this town. We've worked very hard to get the infrastructure and deal with some of the shortcomings, quite honestly, from the past. I do want to read something. You know, in every election, we're asked to make a choice, not just between candidates, but between two very different ways of leading a community. One way is to bring ideas, talk about the future, and explain how you want to make our town an even better place to live. The other is to question people's character and hope that suspicion takes the place of a meaningful platform. I've always believed our Quartzsite voters are thoughtful and frankly too wise to be distracted by politics based on rumor instead of results. Thank you.
My name is Melody Chatelier. I'm a nurse, a retired nurse of 30 years, pediatrics, 2 years of geriatrics. I'm certified in geriatric social service and activity directing. I have a wife, a mom of 4, and a grandmother of 6. I came to Quartzsite probably gold mining and rock hunting probably 30 years ago. And 6 years ago, I decided to move here permanently. The reason why I am looking for a seat in the council is because Quartzsite needs a little bit of new blood. We have people that are on the council that has been there too long, and they're pretty much good old boys. They need to be switched out. Some new people come in there and make some good decisions and get some ideas from our residents, not just the council making the decisions for us. If we get some ideas, so we can talk about it, so that we can bring the ideas to the council and get something different done with our council members and our council. This is what I'm running on. I'm running on security is one of my biggest things, and a cleaner Quartzsite. I spend most of my time and my husband's time picking up trash and doing what we do to help Quartzsite to be a cleaner place and a more secure place to live. I would like to, if I am elected to town council, I promise you one thing, that if my constituents, my residents, think that I'm not doing a good job, that I will not run for re-election. So this is what I promise, and to make a difference here. So that if we, of us three, are able to get into this council, we can possibly get other members to join us and make a quorum to make decisions that are good for our Quartzsite.
Okay, the first question I have, thank you. This was a question that was given to me last week. They didn't get a chance to ask this, but what would you like to change if you get elected? We'll start with Linda.
What would I like to change? Rumors, for one thing. You know, the three-legged stool that Gary mentioned last time, jobs, housing, and people. We know that housing is coming. That is one of the main thing that we basically need in this community is housing, affordable workforce housing. There has been an interest recently, since we are very, very close to being named the Opportunity Zone for La Paz County. We have had some developers showing interest. We have a nonprofit in our town that is waiting to partner to start a small neighborhood that would accommodate workforce affordable housing. Medical is the other thing. We absolutely need to keep working on bringing the medical expertise and variety to Quartzsite.
Thank you.
My primary change would be to make the council and the decisions that the council is making just more transparent. I think everyone feels like there's no transparency and things are all just happening behind closed doors. And I want to have a very open door policy for sharing that information with the public. I agree with Linda 100%. We need jobs, we need people, we need housing. I'm a little still unclear on workforce housing. I'm a little unclear why the town council is the new housing authority without any oversight, without any input into the community. And I want to change our town leadership.
All right, thank you.
What was that question again?
The question is, what would you like to change if you're elected?
One thing I would like to change is one of the things that I would, if I were elected to town council, is hopefully we can stop this oil company from coming into our town. That's number one. And I'm going to try my hardest, and that's going to be one of my first issues that I start. One of my other second issues is the school. This building that we have out here that we have spent so much money in redoing, and then our kids not being able to come here. And I agree with Linda, you know, do something with it, do something with our kids, get them back home, get them back where they're safe, closer to home. And I think that is something, you know, that we should all decide on what we should do for our community. I think that we, as a community, should all have an input. We should have a monthly gathering where somebody has problems that they'd like to talk about that we can bring up to the council, that we would get an answer from. Transparency and responsibility, you know, be accountable for what you're doing. I'm going to have to disagree a little bit with Linda with this infrastructure, this workforce infrastructure, because if people come here to work from the solar place, they're coming here to work temporarily and then they leave. Now, if infrastructure here is building a hotel or a Walmart or a restaurant, soon as those people move here and they're done building, they're gonna leave. So I'm thinking that we do need housing, and I don't agree with what Gary was saying. You know, this three-legged stool, blah, blah, blah that he has does not make any sense at all, because I don't see him doing it. You know, he talks about housing, he talks about workforce, he talks about people, and I don't see him participating in that. One thing that I do promise you is that I will be there every time there's a meeting. I will be there. I'm not going to be gone for as long as he has been. And I understand, everybody, that right now it's an emergency. His wife has planned this operation in Washington, so that's where her insurance is. My husband had a surgery in California. We went and got it done. We came back home. But being gone from a seat for that long, and I must tell you that since I've been here and I've been running, I've gone to pretty much every single meeting. I've gone to department meetings. I've gone to the budget meeting. I've gone to the commerce meetings. So the chamber. So when I first met Gary, Gary's a nice guy, don't get me wrong, okay? He's a very nice guy. When he was talking about this three-legged stool, I was like really interested. And then when he was talking last week about the three-legged stool, I'm going like, how come you're not doing it? You know, we're paying a person on the council your tax money, all of you. You're paying his wages, okay? And he's not there.
Okay,
So-
we're going to stop right there, and we have another question.
Can I clarify workforce housing?
Yes.
Workforce housing, the reference to workforce housing, and this is coming from Arizona Department of Housing, it is not temporary workers housing. This is housing that our police officers, our teachers, our nurses can afford, so they can live in Quartzsite. It is not, the idea is not to provide housing for the ones that are transient.
Okay. You have a response to that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. First of all, half of the people that work for Quartzsite don't live in Quartzsite. All the money that they're getting paid from us, from our tax dollars, from our budget, is going and spent elsewhere in different counties. So that's the number one thing. So you can't guarantee that the officers that live here, and most of the officers that live here or that are working here are getting trained anyway, and then they go to bigger and better things. So when we talk about workforce and infrastructure working people, I'm not going to grab it. It just doesn't appeal to me. It's like another thing is workforce. We have big things, big corporations like Starbucks, but we also have our small business people that we need to spend our money at.
Okay, we're going to get to that later on. Our next question is from last week, and we'll start with you answering this. Is what is your position regarding Isaiah 58's project mission to serve the homeless? What's your position on that?
I don't know what 58 is.
Isaiah 58.
Isaiah 58. I don't understand what that is. I mean, I understand that are you talking about the church that feeds the homeless?
Yes.
Well, I think that's a great idea. You know, I mean, everybody has to eat, and I think I think it's a great idea, first of all, okay? I use my own money, I cook my own food, and I hand it out to people that I know that need food. Cooked food. Hot delivered cooked food is what I do, my husband and I.
Okay, thank you.
I think we absolutely support Isaiah. I think that there is a need for an organization like them. I understand they're going through some major reorganization, and I think that that's wonderful. I think Linda and the folks that started Isaiah did an incredible job. I know I volunteer, I've served food there before.
Lisa?
I love the concept of the Isaiah 58. I think we definitely need to help people when they're in a time of need. I wish I could see a little more leadership in their organization of teach a man to fish and feed a man for life versus feed a man a meal and feed him for the day.
Okay, thank you. And I remember when this was back in the 80s, it started out of a tent ministry, and they would come, this was even before Mike and Linda were involved in it, but it started out of a tent ministry that came here during the winter months, and then it expanded into the organization it is today. Next question. This is from last week. What is your position regarding the marijuana dispensaries?
So I am a alternative healthcare. I've been in acupuncture, Chinese medicine most of my adult life, and I very much believe that THC, marijuana, it's a medicine. And I also think that medicine is abused a lot. I don't think that marijuana dispensaries are necessarily good for a town. I haven't seen a lot of good come from towns that just have one on every corner. I think if we have one, we have plenty. I wouldn't mind if it went back to more of a medical need instead of just everyone going to marijuana because I'm stressed out, because I've seen both sides of that fence. Yes, marijuana will help you sleep, but why are you not sleeping? Yes, marijuana will help you not stress out, but why are you stressing? Yes, marijuana will help your appetite, but why is your appetite low? So I think it's, again, like a conundrum of people just getting the immediate fix and not curing the underlying issue at hand.
When the state issued 2 licenses for the town of Quartzsite, were all of us really thrilled in the beginning about that? Not going to say there. I can tell you the first time I went over to Blythe after the one opened in Blythe, and I was going to Albertsons. And I got out of the car and there was a line all the way around the building. Linda, hi. I think half of Quartzsite was there. Now, and we're not talking about people that were there to get high. These are people that need it for glaucoma, that need it for, there's a medical reason. We didn't have the medical dispensary here in Quartzsite any longer. Having the dispensary, and I'm not sure both of them will stay in Quartzsite, but it does meet medical needs of a number of folks here in town. They don't have to travel out of the area. Lisa, I agree with you. The bottom line is try to find the underlying reasons. But as far as somebody just going down there to get a joint to get high, no, I'm not comfortable with that.
I think that I agree with these ladies that when it's necessary, and medical marijuana card is necessary for illnesses, but I think that you should keep it at home, do it at home. It shouldn't be at the dog park. It shouldn't be at our beautification benches. Every time you walk by there, any of those spots, somebody is smoking and you can smell it. Another thing that I do disagree with is that the amount of buildings that we do have available. I think we should cut down to 1. And another thing is recently we just, if I'm not mistaken, we lengthened their hours of operation, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't, why? I mean, why? I mean, if we want people to stop using it as a party drug, then I think we should keep normal hours, you know, and have more control over it. I do know that we make a lot of taxes off of it. but that's not a reason to have people that are acting stupid out there, you know?
All right, thank you. There's no such thing as a stupid question, but I'm going to ask this one anyways because this is one that you would be asked last week. What is your position regarding gender-neutral restrooms?
I say no.
I'll start with
No.
that.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I don't think we need gender or neutral restrooms. If you can't figure out which restroom to use, go use your restroom at home.
Why would a town council member, I can't see that being an issue for the town council. I'm sorry.
That was the question. So, quick moderator's privilege. I remember doing this was in 2010, we had a delegation that went to Mongolia, and it was both men and women, and we all had to share the same restroom at the same time. So, but that's in Mongolia, not here.
Ladies, how many of us have stood in line at the men's room because the line for the ladies' room is, there we go.
When we go camping, we all go behind a tree.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go back to some more serious questions. If you get elected, are there any amendments to the general plan that you would like to impose or like to promote? Go ahead.
I would like, to be honest with you, I think term limits should be number one. I think 2 term limits would be fine, then let somebody else do the job and try that for 2 years. But, not for 2 years, I'm sorry, but two term limits. I think that one gets too comfortable in what they're doing and they just agree just to disagree, to disagree, agree to disagree. They just go along with the flow. They get too used to what they're doing, and they just think that yes or no or maybe so, but they're always going one way, and there's nobody that makes any logical decisions now. I don't see anything like that happening right now. It reminds me of the good old boys, of of whoever's in office, and they just stick to the same routine. And another thing is that if I'm on there, I want to hear what the residents have to say. And when they come up for that 3 minutes, I'd like to get back to them and answer their questions.
That's not part of the general plan. Exactly.
The general plan. The general plan is done every 10 years. We did a revision of the general plan in 2024. A number of folks in this room attended those 6, I believe it was 6 weeks of meetings, listening to the public. From those meetings, the general plan was written. I don't know whether have any of you stopped at the town hall and read the general plan? Okay, Terry, Mike. I was going through it after a comment last week, and it is amazing how many things in that general plan we as a council, administration, and staff have brought forward. Zoning, a zoning analysis. We have a consultant. We are in the process of reviewing and updating our zoning codes. Exit 17, big issue. You know, when we first went after the first grant, there were several industries, businesses, folks that wanted to do something at Exit 17. But because when they did their ADOT traffic studies, every one of those several businesses had a different engineer, and they all had a different idea. They could not decide on what kind of a plan for Exit 17. And then they said, well, we don't have the money anyway. So the town manager came to council and said, hey, can we get some funding to move forward and get an engineer to work on a general plan. We voted yes. Then, after we did that, ADOT said, well, you know, you kind of did that. Maybe you can help us with a final design. Town of Quartzsite applied for a grant. We got $3.4 million to do a final design for exit 17. Last time I checked, we're about 80% complete. Then ADOT said, and by the way, at that point, we were like 17 or 18 years out before they would even look at exit 17. Guess what? Town of Quartzsite found some money for a design, so now they're looking at us to say, well, can you help us find money to do the project? We've applied for a $25 million grant. Last week, we just put in for a $47 million grant. Is that going to cover everything? No. But we're moving forward to where maybe some of those businesses that were going to come down to that area or part of town will say, finally, we can do something. Those are just a couple of the things in the general plan. Talk about the OHV staging area, talk about the splash pad, the improvements to Town Park, the lighting, the fencing. Those are all grants. Those are all things that were in the general plan. Stop by Town Hall or go online, it's online.
Okay, Lisa?
Yeah, I actually don't see anything in the general plan that I would disagree with. I think the general plan is a pretty good action plan. There's some things in there that I would like to see happen sooner than later. I might prioritize things differently, but I don't really see any glaring issues with the general plan that they put together. I thought they put together a pretty good plan.
Okay, thank you. Same question, but now involving our code. What are things that you'd like to see changed in the code during your next term?
I would like a complete revision of all of the town codes. We adopted town codes from another town, and that town really has nothing to do with Quartzsite. The codes are just outdated, they're irrelevant, and they're enforced on people that someone else doesn't like. Something about the town codes that I would like to see. If you're going to enforce a town code, enforce a town code. Right now, they only enforce a town code or even send code enforcement out if somebody complains. So if your neighbor doesn't like you and they find something wrong with your property, they're going to rat you out to town code or to town, the town code people, and then they're going to come check your property and give you fines and all this stuff, and it's like, wait, what? So if we're going to enforce town codes across the board, but I think first we need a really stern look at our town codes.
Okay, thank you. Linda?
And actually, we adopted recently, well, in the last couple of years, we adopted a new national building code, which we are required to do. As part of that, there is a maintenance code that goes along with it. We have started, I know people are not happy that code compliance is looking at those codes, and they are going out on a regular basis. There are regular schedules, RV parks, for instance. I can tell you one of our council members had to make a heavy investment in a park that is owned because there were codes that were not up to date. There were violations of codes in that particular park. So are they perfect? No, they're not perfect. You have to remember, we are responsible for the health, welfare, and safety of every one of you in this town. And a code, a disagreement in a code, somebody that thinks that they can run extension cords put 4 or 5 RVs in their front yard. Those things just don't work, and they're not safe. Look at the fires we've had this year. So our code compliance people, I understand they're maybe rubbing people the wrong way, but they're doing their job to keep everybody safe.
I really can't say too much about codes because I don't know that much about codes. I do have a couple of friends here that are really close to me, and they said that their business has been zoned and coded, him out of business. Another friend of ours said that he was wanted to build some duplexes, and he was coded and zoned out of business. So I'm not too sure about codes, but it seems like they're kind of like a little bit too much, overwhelming.
Okay, thank you. The next question has to do with policy. What are a couple of policies that you'd either like to change or include in your upcoming term if you get elected?
The biggest change in policy that I would like to see is, and maybe that comes into workforce housing. If we have workforce housing, then there'll be no more excuses. Everyone that works for this town doesn't work here, doesn't live here. And I would like to see if you work here for us, if the taxpayer dollars are paying your salary, I want those people to live here.
And that is one of the reasons that we're working so hard to get workforce housing here so that people can live where they work. If you think all of our staff is happy about getting up at 4 in the morning to have to be at town hall, they're not. If they could find a home here in town that they could afford, they would be here. Right now, I can tell you, not employees of the town, but I've got 4 people, medical, a teacher, and 2 others that can't find housing, cannot find housing in Quartzsite right now. I'm looking for them.
What I would change is the 4-day workday, go to 5 days a week, because they got too many hours on their hands on a 4-day. They have nothing else to do. Today it was 112 today. There's nobody working at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, okay? We're wasting fuel, we're wasting our vehicles being driven away, driven. Another thing is I would change our employees taking their vehicles home.
Okay, thank you. So, do we have the right staff to take the town where you want to take the town if you get elected?
I think so. I think we have some darn good people. We have people, and I know that there are towns and counties that have tried to hire some of our staff away, but they are devoted, they're committed to this community.
I guess I would humbly disagree. I think we need a change in the upper level of our staff. I think our town manager is overpaid and underworked, and I would start from the top to try to replace. I like Kiki Tennell. I think she's doing a great job, and I think she'll make a good town manager. I don't want to pay her anything close to what's being paid to our town manager currently. I know there's some defenses of, he wears a lot of hats. Well, does a good boss wear all that many hats? Or do you delegate and get somebody in those positions and then maybe cut your salary back so that you can afford those positions, so they take those over? And he seems to just be a complete micromanager of all of these different departments.
What I think is that the top heads, I'm gonna have to say, they have term limits. Okay, the mayor, he's gonna be up for re-election in 2.5 years, I think, pretty sure, 2.5 years. And then if we have enough people to vote to get a different mayor, I think that's great, but let him do his time there. Same goes with the manager. You just elected another year for him to be town manager, correct? Let him do his time, and then when that time comes up, vote to get somebody else in there. And like, I think you said that Kiki, I think she'd be wonderful when it's time for her to come into that position. But I would never try and oust any of them gentlemen out of their seats and pay the price that it would cost us to get them out of their seats. Let them do their time, let them be happy and finish their times, and then we'll take a vote. Hopefully we got the votes to carry on.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to turn it over to the community for questions. Who has a question?
Surprise, surprise.
3 out of 3.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for being here tonight. I have 2 questions for you. The first one's a very simple question, and all I want is one side or the other. When you're making your decisions on your policies, now we all know that the influx is important, but what do you think of first? The full-time residents or the influx of people that come into the town during the winter?
Full-time resident.
Full-time residents.
And I will say it would be a tie between, because the tax dollars that this town generates when those winter visitors come is what keeps this town going.
I don't agree with you, but that is your answer. The other is, you've touched a little bit on the health care. You have so many seniors that are living in this area who have to go so far away to get any type of urgent care, or they have to pay a lot for a helicopter. What would you do and what would you push for to get some kind of urgent care here in Quartzsite?
Well, I don't know whether you
Thank
know
you.
it or not, but La Paz Regional Hospital, that is on their schedule, is an urgent care here in Quartzsite.
I talked to them the other day.
Okay.
Okay, who has the next question?
It's a question I'd like to ask Linda about. We've been talking about 4-day work weeks. I've worked for 4-day work weeks in my life, but they were 10-hour days. It's still 40 hours. I haven't heard anybody said that. I assume that's the same case with the city council, but somebody needs to bring that up to keep people from thinking they're shirking.
No, our staff do work 10-hour days, and they work 40 hours a week.
Okay, who has the next question?
All right, so out of y'all, I already heard you say it. How do you two feel about that oil refinery?
I completely disagree with the oil refinery. I would like to see it not come to town. I think that most of this population is elderly, most of this population has respiratory problems, and I really truly believe that those are only going to get worse.
And contrary to everybody's belief, the oil refinery, there is no definite commitment that oil refinery is coming to Quartzsite. Yes, ADEQ, you know, on anything like that, there is federal, state, county, and town regulations that have to be met before anything like that can come in. VLS, the one that's out there right now. I don't remember exactly how long it took for them to get through the federal, the state, the county, 4 or 5 years before they finally got down to the town of Quartzsite's level. And yes, they are in the town limits. ADEQ, I have not seen any final documents after their public hearing. But I can tell you there's no paperwork been presented to the town of Quartzsite at this point for that refinery.
The question was, how do you feel about it coming in?
I'm basing on VLS, on the one that we have out there now.
A totally different type of company.
But the regulations and everything are the same. They look at all of the different air quality, water. They look at all of those things. There are regulations. So my feeling is if they can, the town of Quartzsite can't just say, well, you bought a piece of property and you want to build, that you can build, you want to build a movie theater in the middle of a residential area. Okay, the code says she can't do it, but if she wanted to build an X-rated movie theater in a commercial zone where the zoning says a theater could go, the town of Quartzsite can't say no, except if it was X-rated. We don't allow that.
Okay.
Wait, I want to answer,
Go ahead.
I want to say something to that also. My husband and I went to the town manager meeting where the secretary had brought him a stack of papers like that. Now, luckily for Sally Cooper, she was there also at that meeting, and she was pounding Ferguson about this oil company that wants to come out here. Now, Ferguson, he said at that time that they have been wanting to do this for a year or so, more than that. But have any of you heard about it? No. Transparency is what I'm asking you for. Transparency. Let people know ahead of time. I also heard that you also had a chance to write impact letters, that they got the information too late and they weren't able to write any letters regarding this this company that wants to bring in this oil refinery. Now, whether you said it's just like an idea, or it's never come into fruition, it may not or may come into fruition. The thing is that he knew about it, and luckily we were there. And we heard and we saw it right there when the papers came in. So we knew that they had come in. So only because Sally Cooper pressured him into saying, okay, well, that's what it is. It's somebody that's been interested for more than a year now.
And they were interested. There was interest. Those papers, we got those from ADEQ for the manager's meeting. And the reason she brought them in is because they had just been faxed over to us.
Right, yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, we did not have any of the paperwork.
Right, but
we
you guys
found
knew about
out
it
when
a year
the
ago.
Post, well, we knew about the
You knew about
interest,
it.
the
Okay.
interest. And you have to understand economic development, when somebody decides they want to build something, we don't have the authority until that developer says we're going to do it, or they fill out paperwork. We can't just share somebody's private business. We just can't do it.
Okay, Paul, you're next.
Let's get back to the workforce, low income.
I didn't say low income, I said workforce and affordable.
You were talking about low income, but besides that, they're supposed to get loans, and I thought it was low income loans.
No.
I read your thing right. The thing is, whatever they're getting, their income they make, these are people that make $40,000 to $60,000 a year. How many people in our community can afford that, like them? Your whole candidate statement, the whole thing, there's nothing in there about the residents of this town. The low income was about a third of below the low income is about a third of our community. The sick, all the people with different problems and issues and growing old. But the majority of people, there's nothing in what you said that says anything about what you're going to do for them.
Okay, would you like to hear what we are doing? We are taking our...
What, look, come on,
Okay.
I'm going by your statement. Your candidate's statement,
said,
all it was about is your dream of how you want it to be. You're going to bring all these people, and you're going to bring them in, and they're going to raise the price of everything, and then what's going to happen to the low-income people? They can't afford what they're barely hanging on now. What's going to happen? They'll be displaced. The only reason that it hasn't been going, they haven't been displaced as much as they have because you guys haven't done your job. If you'd done a better job, you'd be displacing a lot more people at a higher rate. All you have on your statement is nothing for the residents. On your statement, you said empathy. Where's your empathy for the residents of Quartzsite?
yeah.
Yeah, please.
How are you helping the people that live in the community?
Okay, let me...
That are low income.
All right.
And you don't even talk about, oh, and one more thing. On your,
Future people that you think are going to come.
Hey, one question at a time, please.
Now, I'm trying to clarify.
and in your 10-year plan, point out to me a place on your 10-year plan where you include the poor, things you're going to do for the poor and the ill and the elderly. Give me a place in the 10-year plan where that's covered.
Okay, in the general plan.
Yes.
Okay, we talked about the fact medical for our seniors. They need transportation to doctor's appointments. All right, we have expanded our Camel Express to where we do we prioritize doctor appointments in Blythe, in Parker, in Havasu,
That's by
and in
Waco
Yuma.
does that, doesn't it?
Okay, no, the town of Quartzsite,
Yeah.
part of that money comes out of the general fund.
I'm talking
Okay,
about not day
all
to
right.
day.
Paul, let her finish her answer, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the general plan, it does talk about housing. Now, your
What
comment,
housing?
just a minute, that you're saying that my statement about housing, okay, this opportunity zone that is going to allow investors to come into our community that have funds to invest in our community. That nowhere in there does it say that they're going to be not low-income housing. It doesn't. There's no prerequisite that says that. We don't know what those developers are going to do. I can tell you right now, the low-income housing at the apartments, low-income housing. You know how that was financed? The same way, investors with tax credit money, capital gain money, that they needed tax credits for.
How many people can afford that in this town?
Can afford what?
The low-income housing.
The apartments?
Yes. How many?
I can't tell you that. I know that there are
Look.
people over there that are paying a couple $100 a month. I know that there are people that are paying $800 or $900 a month. I saw an advertisement that the new owners evidently took some of the housing out of the Arizona Department of Housing plan, and they were advertising a 2-bedroom apartment, I think, for about $800, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. You got all these people in the RV parks, all these places out there. That's kind of low-income housing is going to help them.
I don't have an answer for that, Paul.
That's the majority of the people in this town are low income and just living paycheck to paycheck or Social Security check to check.
So how is the town supposed to, are you saying the town should build free housing? I'm not sure what you're expecting the town.
I gave you a sheet.
Yes,
Gentrification.
You did.
And I had a list of things that could be done.
Mm-hmm. And we're doing some of those
Which
things.
ones? You said, I gave it to you, and 4 months later I came to you, and I said, what do you think? In the end, you said, I just didn't read it. You always say, don't start. You always say, people come with problems, but they never come with solutions. I came to you with solutions. And you
Okay,
just
we're
ignored
going to
it.
stop right here because we have some other questions. This is a good debate, but we have some other questions to come on. So I would encourage that you two talk about this when we
We've
break.
talked.
right.
We have great chats.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, well, try to get close to it. I'll just do this because it's easier. So I email the town council a lot, okay? And I often will copy the town manager, sometimes the county supervisors, more recently like the Attorney General's office, if there's something really important going on. And I will say that I found maybe 3 or 4 out of 7 are responsive. There are very few replies to my emails, and I don't know what your response times would be if you were elected. And from Linda, who's already there, why is it that there is a lack of response? And when I come, just to clarify too, when I come to the town meetings and I do my 3-minute speech, I get that you are not allowed to answer back. I totally get the open meeting law. However, I rarely get a response of any kind after that. So that is what I keep hearing also from the public, is they're not listening to us. So email responses. Well, and Terry, when you have called me, or I have called you.
We have talked.
We have,
Yes.
I do
Yes, we
respond.
have. Yes, you
Thank
do.
you.
Yes, thank you for that. I wish everyone did.
Why do we have to call Linda personally? Why can't we deal with the council straightforward? Why do we have to call you, or you call me, as you said, if there's a problem? What are you going to do
I'm not
about it?
speaking.
Maggie, it's my time.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Maggie,
I'm just saying.
Okay, let her answer the question.
Yes, so email responses. Or responses, you're saying you want to listen to the people. If I'm emailing in about, say, code compliance, let's use that, because I just did one today after talking to somebody that was telling me that the maintenance man is throwing debris into the wash instead of taking it where it's supposed to go. And then raw electrical cord, people getting shocked in the showers, which has come up before. That came up in my park. So when I reach out like that and I get nothing back, it bothers me. I want to hear more from the town council.
I have to agree with you. I wrote an email to Nikki, and that was about 9 weeks ago, with my volunteer slips. She said get them, she'll send them to me through email. I got them, I sent them back to her, never heard from her. So my husband and I were waiting to volunteer, even though we still volunteer anyway. I never got the slip to say that you are a volunteer, so never got any answer from her. So I've tried to ask her at the budget meeting, did you get our slips filled out, what's going on? And she said she hasn't gotten to it, and she still hasn't gotten to it.
She doesn't receive those. They go to the town clerk.
Okay, well, they still haven't gotten back to us.
Okay.
So to answer your question directly, I would have a separate email account, and those would come up on my phone, and I probably would answer all of those every night, just like I do for work. I have a personal assistant. I would have her check those emails daily when she's at work and keep me on task.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I want to address the question that Maggie had.
Phil, you have been an interim town manager. There are things that council members, when we do our training, we are told that there are certain areas that we are not. They need to go to the town manager or the department head. It's not just council members.
Okay, so I'll explain the issue is how the council manager form of government works in the state of Arizona and the restrictions and limitations that are put in by open meeting law. And as a once and future town manager, it's been one of the more frustrating things, is because you cannot have the discourse like we're having here in these meetings. And this goes from this, the state level commission that I sit on for the governor, all the way down to the fire district board and the school board. It's the law. The law only permits that if it's not on the agenda, they can't talk about it. They can't have a discussion amongst themselves outside of a meeting. Now, some councils have put the inclusion of, we allow the public to say their comments for 3 minutes. And again, there's laws that govern that too, on whether they can respond to it or whether it could be directed to staff or they just ignore it. So again, it's a frustrating thing, but it's the way the law is written. There's good news and bad news on this. The good news is that there is some movement at the state legislature to adjust some of the provisions of the open meeting law, because it's getting to the point where you can't get anything done. And for some of the, again, the balance is between transparency, but then on the other hand, we elect people to do a job, and if they can't do their job because of open meeting law, then we need to look at it. So I would encourage everybody to keep an eye on that at the legislature. There's a system called the RTS system. It's the request to speak system. I encourage everybody here to get on that so that you can input and weigh in there. And that's a great place to say, hey, I can't talk to my council about the issues that are coming up because of the restrictions of open meeting law. And again, it's a frustration around the entire state.
Thank you for sharing that.
Is that a, what's the, how do you get a hold of them?
What, the RTS? I could talk to anybody afterwards on how to get to RTS, and it might be good. Rain has a comment on that.
Civic Engagement Beyond Voting, CEBV. They were at the one that
Right.
Messenger hosted.
Yeah.
And they can sign you up.
Did you
And
get the
so it
information?
also adds to that the council members can't even talk to each other.
Yeah,
Outside of
a meeting.
three, right? You can't count past three.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
big one, when they're all meeting at a coffee shop after hours.
They can talk about their families, they can talk about
Yeah,
birthday
sure.
parties, they cannot talk about town business.
Oh, I don't think that happens.
Yeah, so
I don't think that happens.
So here's a problem you have in a lot of small communities, like fire district boards, where you have, several members of the same family are on the board because they got elected because nobody else will run. Hey, family meetings, they're not talking about the fire board. That's the one thing they're not talking about.
You should live with your wife and don't talk to her about what you do? I don't think so.
Actually, I don't.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes, go ahead.
So if an email came to me and by all of the restrictions, I could not actually address their question, is there any reason that I can't address their email and say, I can't address your question, go to the town manager?
Yes, you can answer the question individually as a council member, and you can respond back to the individual and say, hey, I'm taking a look at this, I'm going to forward it to the manager. He or she and I will sit down and talk about this issue, and we'll get back to you. The important thing is we try to get a response back to people within 2 to 3 business days. At least say, hey, I heard your issue, and we're going to research it and look into it. That's probably a good standard, is 2 to 3 business days, and at least get an answer to the issue within a couple weeks.
And Terry, when you say that you copy everybody, we can't respond because we're violating the open meeting law. So if there, email the individual council member. If you do everybody on a email, and Carrie answers and Nancy answers and I answer, then we're violating an open meeting law.
Well, please put that on the website, because it just shows you
It's-
making all the email addresses.
And
Okay.
it has been discussed.
So cleaning up open meeting law mess is expensive. One town that I had to help clean up, we had an open meeting law violation, and it kept on coming back and back and back. And at the end of the day, when I added it all up, it was probably around $24,000 that a small town of 800 people had to pay just to get this mess cleaned up. And it goes to the Attorney General's office, and it's not a good thing, because now you're on the skyline, now the Attorney General's gonna be looking at everything else. So, you know, we have to stay within the confines of the law. Again, you can respond, you can send an email to all of them, but they cannot all respond back to you, because then it violates the open meeting law. And again, I'm not a big fan of it either, but that's the way the law is written.
That's for council members though, right?
That's for any elected or appointed board with a local government, with a municipality, a county, or even the state level.
So where do we go then if we email the department head, and then you said it goes to the...
Applications for volunteers go to the town clerk. You take it in, you hand it to the girls at the front desk.
Okay, but
They,
just emails in general, not to the town, not to you, to the council members. I'm talking about emails in general, because I've had several emails that I've put out, you know, to Kiki and to.
Oh, okay. These are procedural
Yeah,
things
and
that you can talk with the town manager, you can talk with the town clerk about how this all works. But I just want to make sure, is there any other questions? Okay. Again, you're between us and...
I'll make it fast. You said about the worker housing, right? I just looked on Zillow. There's 26 houses for sale under $200,000. If you can't afford a mortgage on less than that, I'd do it on $1,000 a month income. So why do you gotta build more houses, but then when somebody wants to bring in a duplex, you deny it? I say we need to replace the entire council and start fresh.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll kind of combine them. Yes, in the back. And as you're listening to questions, this will be your closing remarks as you combine these questions.
So the question's going to be to all the candidates combined. So it's going to take a slight build up on this. But what I've done, so we all know that the current town manager's been town manager since 2016. So we have 10 years of actual results to compare. So what I did is I went back to 2016 and I did some comparisons. So in 2016, the average median household income was $30,500. Today in 2026, it's $24,500. Average price of a house was $52,000 in 2016. Today it's about $250,000. The rate of, what was the other one? Sorry. Poverty rate has remained about 20%. So that has not, it has remained the same under his leadership. You also have the rate of all the rates have dropped. So the quality of life after 10 years of Jim Ferguson being in office, your quality of life has actually diminished on all parameters, but the council keeps voting for the town manager to continue to have raises, housing allowances. So again, the income level of the average person sitting here has gone down, but the town manager's has gone up. So all the current council members that are in office right now, and that have been for the last 10 years, keep voting Jim his new contract. Question, moving forward, we have all the parameters. Oh, the other one is the water rates went up. So there's a lot of everything. The cost of living has gone up for the average person, and their quality of living has gone down. So what, for the current council member, Linda, what will you do different? So we keep voting Jim in, but the quality of life has diminished. So not my opinion, so this is just looking at the numbers. So the quality of life has diminished for the average person. What are you going to do different in the future? Are you planning on keeping Jim Ferguson if he wants to be here? And for the council members that are running against the incumbents, what is your plan to do different than has been done for the last 10 years that has not worked for the average person?
Well, I can say that there are a lot of issues that have come up in the last 10 years. For instance, the $1 million, the revenues that the town of Quartzsite gets, census, we lost $1 million per year. When Mr. Ferguson came into Quartzsite, we were in violation. There had been some things done with HERF money. There had been the depletion of the reserves. There was infrastructure that was not being taken care of. So the things that have progressed to try to bring the quality of life up to make up for some of the mistakes of the past, whether they were attributed to the town itself or, for instance, the census, the spending limitation, we got that changed. We got, well, what can I say?
Yeah,
we're working at it.
So quick
Dennis.
question too, because I know the census has obviously been talked about. And looking, I know even Cliff O'Neill, in his capacity of writing some reports, stated that the number of housing, because part of how they got the legislation passed for the public is the argument was made that we basically have the same number of housing units today as we did the previous census. So again, we have 10 years of actual leadership, or I believe lack thereof, and we still have essentially the same number of housing units today that we had in 2016. So quality of life is going down. I mean, I was at the fireworks last night and it was a ghost town. So the number of people, I think the census is actually correct. So again, so you believe that what's been done is correct and you wouldn't do anything different moving forward?
We're working at it, but I'm going to correct you on the census. That was during COVID. I can tell you that we did, the town, I can remember sitting on, we took our transit bus. People were afraid to open their doors. Census workers were afraid they would hang something on a fence. They wouldn't go up to the door. So the town, we tried to come up with ideas to get, and we're not the only ones. You go to League and talk to some of the other towns that were affected the same way, are dealing with the same issues. We took the transit bus, we bought ice cream, we had computers. Come get free ice cream. We've got a computer, you can fill out your paperwork. We could not get people to come out of their homes. In my neighborhood, a lot of our full-time residents, their kids got afraid, you know, we talk about the seniors, kids got afraid of their parents living here. I can tell you a number of people that left and went and stayed with their families because nobody knew what was going to happen. So, and this is not a Quartzsite only issue.
And so I guess twofold on that. Do you still believe that the population is 3,600 and not 2,400? And do you believe there was an increase in residential housing, or did it remain the same like Cliff O'Neill
said? The housing is there. The people weren't.
But if we've not increased the number of housing units, Jim, in his performance, it is a measurable thing to measure. Our lives are not being made better under the current leadership, in my opinion, based on these numbers. But do you believe the population is still 3,600 as it was in the previous, and it was not an inaccurate census?
I don't know whether it's 3,600. I know that the 2,400 is not correct.
I mean,
okay,
we are a ghost town, but okay.
We need to let the others do their closing statements. Otherwise, we'll be here again till 9 p.m.
Dennis, you mentioned about the amount of money that they were making. The town manager and his housing allowance and the other high-paying employees of Quartzsite. What about a pay freeze? I mean, you mean the amount of money that they are making, there should be a freeze on any raises, you know, that are forthcoming for at least for a couple of years or something to, you know, because it's getting out of control. I mean, we just hired a sheriff, I mean, a chief of police that doesn't live here either.
We didn't hire a chief of police, we hired an interim.
Well, we still hired him for lots of money.
No, we call.
He's what?
He's not an employment, he's an.
Town manager was interim.
Is he getting paid or isn't he getting paid?
He's getting paid under an agreement, he is not an employee.
Okay, but he's still getting paid like an enormous amount of money. Doesn't live here, and he's not certified in Arizona yet.
Yet is the operative.
Excuse me?
Yet is the operative. He's in the process of being certified.
But he's not
He
yet.
is an
But he's not
interim.
yet.
He is an interim.
But he's
That
not
was
yet.
that there was an agreement to bring in an interim until we're ready to go out to look for a permanent chief. And we're ready to do that in the next 30 days.
Who brought him in?
Would we rather not have a chief of police?
He can't do anything now without being certified here.
He's doing a lot.
No, I said he cannot write tickets. He can't even be wearing a badge, actually.
He's running the department. We didn't have that before.
He's not supposed to, though.
And he is in
What
the
I'm saying
process-
is he's not supposed to, though.
And he is in the process of being certified.
He is not certified
because
in the state of Arizona.
An interim, there is a
We
time
did a
frame.
background check on him. He's not certified yet in
I
Arizona.
know that, but there is
Okay?
a time limit.
So he cannot conduct himself as
Okay,
a chief of police.
Okay, moderators, so in Arizona, all police officers are certified under POST. It's Peace Officer Standards of Training.
Correct.
And to operate as a police officer, you have to meet certain qualifications.
Correct.
And they also have reciprocity with other states. So California is a very easy to get reciprocity, and it's basically how long does it take POST over there in Phoenix to say, yep, he's certified, and he can do the chief. Now,
Well, it
there's
hasn't
thing-
happened yet. It hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet.
Okay.
He's been here over a month now, and it still hasn't happened. And there is nothing on the verification that shows that he's even trying yet, that he's applied for it.
Oh gee, I bet he doesn't know that.
Okay, so now you can be a chief, like a sheriff,
And
and not be
Indian.
post-certified,
And
but
an
there are
Indian.
things you can't do. You can't arrest, you can't do things, but you can do the management
Yes.
of the police department. Usually what they call those are public safety directors.
Correct.
Not a police chief.
Correct.
And that's what he was hired.
As a safety,
Police leadership.
police leadership.
Okay, we're gonna give each of you ladies 30 seconds, closing remarks on why we should vote for you, and then we're gonna call for an evening, because we've been here for a while.
Well, I think that you should vote for us three. That's Melody, Lisa, and Ray, because we're going to make a difference. We have our phone numbers that you can call us anytime. It's on our little cards over there, so take one, and you can call us anytime you want to. And when we do get in office, you can call us then also. We're going to make Quartzsite a better place to live, and we're going to make a difference. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Vote Lisa Bolden if you want more transparency within the town government, if you want someone who's going to communicate between you and the town manager. And I assure you that I have not failed at anything I've ever tried in my whole life. I'm determined, I'm smart, I'm quick, I learn fast, and I listen. I listen really well. And I'll listen to you, and I'll help you get everything that you need. To address a little bit of what Dennis was talking about, I think some of the reason the housing is not more affordable, that it's expensive, is that we're landlocked. And I want to try to get some BLM land, because every community that's ever been landlocked, the prices of the houses go up because you can't build more houses. And I think restricting us to this little area that we have is a detriment to our community. And I will do my very best to work for this community, to do anything I can to make it better.
Quartzsite voters know that character isn't measured by what your opponents say about you during an election. It's measured by how you've served when no one is watching. My view of public service is doing homework, showing up, listening, making difficult decisions, and always trying to move Quartzsite in a forward direction. I've made decisions in public, I've answered questions, I've welcomed criticism when it's fair, because accountability is part of my elected responsibility. When the election's over, we're still going to be neighbors. I'm still going to care about the streets, the people, the schools. I'm still going to care about what goes on in Quartzsite. Thank you. I am absolutely wanting to move forward and serve you for another 4 years.
Okay, we're going to close it up right there, but a big round of applause for these ladies, and thank you for being, okay. We also want to thank the Senior Citizen Center. Is there anybody here from the board still? I think a couple. Thank you. We couldn't have had this without this wonderful facility. And I also want to acknowledge our 2 county candidates that are still here, loitering about. Thank you all for staying, and also thank you for our sponsors, and thank you for our free press who's keeping track of all this. So you all have a very good evening, and thank you for coming out.